answers I can here. Sean Payton. Did Sean Payton veer from what might have been agreed upon with Matt for the exhibition game? Says Matt didn't look very pleased when he and Payton met for the shake afterwards. I have to say I was surprised their number ones are out there. Okay, so I don't know if the NFL, it's not my experience the NFL coaches talk to each other and agree to play their guys a certain amount of time. And I don't think Sean Payton would do that with Matt LaFleur, because I just think Sean Payton comes off as a guy who thinks, if Bill Parcells was still in the game, like maybe he'll tell Bill or Belichick. I don't think he's telling a lot of other people, right? But I don't think that's common practice. If Matt wasn't very pleased, he's probably not very pleased because his guys played very poorly, particularly on offense. And if you're not doing a ton of joint practices, these are the only opportunity to get your team better. And this is a game situation with fans in the stands. So from a Broncos perspective, it makes a ton of sense to me to play these guys at least, half the game. That's what we did. You go quarter, half, 3 quarters, empty, right? Or one series, depending on the coach. So, Sean Payton's old school. He's going to play his starters. This is development time for his team. It's not only evaluation time for the second team. Matt sees it a different way. It's always interesting now. You saw the starters in the first game. You don't see them in the second. Like to me, that's just absolutely bizarre, but it is what it is. Does Rasheed Walker have the ability to be a long-term left tackle? He won't be Bakhtiari, but few are. I think that's true. I do think the answer to that is yes. I think, listen, at certain positions, you're always going to draft a guy to try to replace the guy that you have, okay? Unless you have like a Hall of Fame, like Dave Bakhtiari, Walter Jones kind of guy there. I think you're always looking with, okay, can we find it? Well, let me rephrase that. The media and the fans are going to think more often than not, anybody the Green Bay Packers bring at the offensive line position is trying to replace Rasheed Walker because he plays left tackle, and they more often than not draft guys that played tackle in college. So when Zach Thomas drafted, is he the next this, right? When Morgan's drafted, is he the next that, right? It's always going to be that way because of the position they're playing until he gets to his third Pro Bowl or All Pro or whatever. Then it's like, okay, he's probably not taking that spot. But I think that's an inevitability of where we are, where the media's at, where the fans are at, and really the way that the Packers draft. I think Peyton was far from vanilla. They sent a lot of blitzes. Okay. Definitely an odd way. Yeah, okay. I mean, I think Sean Payton, he's saying it's an odd way to play a game against starters versus backups, but it has nothing. What Sean Payton wants to do with his football team has nothing to do with what Matt LaFleur wants to do with his football team. And I can just, from watching the game, I would seriously doubt that they spend a lot of time game planning the Packers. And quite frankly, this idea that you're not supposed to blitz in the second game, like in the first game, I was always kind of like, you were surprised, like Monty or Vic, they would bring blitzes, a ton of pressure, and you go, man, are we really doing this today? But you get in the second, third game, it's like you're trying out your stuff. Like, what do you think they're installing during the week? They're not just sitting there running the base vanilla stuff over and over. Like, they got to practice this at some point. This is why you have preseason. I know it's different now, and I guess we view the preseason differently, but good God, when are these guys supposed to run their stuff? If you can't pick it up, it's not really, it's not their problem. They want to get film on, they want to get plays on tape, just like we do, so we can make some evaluations on players, but also system. That's really important. Is there a reason Newman is or should be on this team? Based on what I just saw, and he's his third year, I mean, listen, if you can't remove the human in front of you from where he wants to be, I think you just have a real problem. Okay, these are some questions that I have no answers for, guys. Are the Packers any closer to solving the Longstaff situation? I don't know. Is Rob Davis coming off the sidelines? I have no idea. Will Anders Carlson retain a spot on the team? I think so. Will the Packers average? What will the Packers' average starting spot be after kickoffs? Now, that's an interesting question. And I just don't know how much leeway he has with, is Marshawn Lodi comes back from injury, he's going to be part of that. How many, just Bisaccia, how many tricks does he have up his sleeve there? Have they figured out a personnel group that just doesn't make sense? It's almost like, could you go game specific, seeing what the other team does personnel wise, and then try to counter that? You see that a lot now in the NFL generally is they don't have the personnel to play a lot of heavy packages on defense. So you just bring in more guys, tight ends and fullbacks on offense. So I think that could be one of the things you mess around with. But yeah, with Nixon and Marshawn Lloyd, I think the average starting spot through a couple weeks here is like the 28. I know I think in the XFL and maybe even over here in Europe, I think it's closer to the 29 or 30 historically. So I wouldn't be surprised if they break a couple and they're above 30 or right around 30. But to think that it's going to be more than that would be certainly possible, but optimistic. It says top 3 performances on each side. Look, honestly, guys, I'm not lying to you. Like, I don't watch the second half of this. I turn this game off. Right? I'm going to break down the tape that I see. At some point, you're like, okay, I'm not making decisions for this football franchise. So the top performances that you see from each side, listen, I just don't think there's enough, especially when I'm looking at the consistency. So I think Eric Wilson did some good things. I think structurally consistent. He made tackles when he was supposed to make tackles, right? I see Carl Brown. I see that he did some good things, but I think there's some structural inconsistencies with some rules that he's got to learn because he's still a young developing player. I want to see some different things out of Lucas Van Ness as far as like understanding what you're getting from a pass rush perspective. Schematically, you see the depth of the safeties, you see the distance, especially when we go under center, you see the distance between the linebackers and the safeties, and like, what does that mean? Where are people going to attack us? Probably in the middle of the field, especially if you're playing split safety. You see some of the opportunities in the zone. You see how they're running their cover 2 stuff with the bail corner, and how they want to adjust that for the game. So I think you can learn a lot, but it's almost like I think you learn. Like for me, I learned a lot more about the scheme this week, at least on defense and the offense. And offensively, like when you're not getting movement on the line of scrimmage, you can't evaluate the running back. When you're not getting time in the pocket, you can't evaluate the quarterback. When you're trying to throw, in the first couple, you have a fumble, you have a swing pass, you have a hitch, you have 2 deep balls that don't connect. I think, quite frankly, that Clifford made some good plays after that first one. It's just, if you're this far away, for me, I look at Clifford and I go, okay, you almost hit 2 of those, right? Almost doesn't count, but I like where your head's at. I like that you're taking the shot. I like that you're going for it. Like you're throwing it away from the safety. So I think you can see a lot of good stuff there. And then when you look at the line position, Andre Dillard, you highlight him for having better hands. You highlight Royce Mean for some of the wrong stuff. I think Sean Ryan, I like Sean Ryan is such a physical presence that when he gets to play center, which quite frankly they don't have a lot of single blocks, I think you could really unlock some of the stuff with him. I just don't know if I don't know if he's better than what we have in our starter in Josh, who helped themselves get it. Same answer. Did Andre Dillard show you enough as a run blocker to earn your confidence? I don't think Andre Dillard has shown enough to earn the confidence of the starter on the football team. I don't know what you mean by confidence. I guess you're looking for that swing guy. Look, the reality is when Jordan Morgan comes back, if he's not given the right guard spot, he's going to be given the swing tackle spot. And so you just have to start playing the numbers game if you're Andre Dillard. Now, has he shown enough to say, like, man, there's really something here, and I think we can develop a player? And I know he's in year, I think, 6. Yeah, I think that's probably the case. But yeah, it's difficult. They're trying to see if Sean Ryan can be that backup center, because then you kind of take care of a lot of pieces. As far as you have kind of 2 guys that can play multiple positions. I'm not moving Elgin. I'm not moving Zach Tom. I'm not moving Josh. So you have these 2 pieces that I need to have a guard that can play center. I need to have a tackle that can play both sides. And it feels like with 7 guys now you can do that. So who's the 8th guy that's going to play? Is it going to be Dillard? Is it going to be one of the rookies? Those are the questions you got to start trying to figure out. And they're going to hold X amount of players, but you got to remember Dillard costs. The way the salary cap works, he might get more money, but he doesn't cost that much more as a vet now than as a rookie. I think they changed that about 10 years ago. So I think he's certainly got a chance to be on this football team. Did you see any improvement from the rookie O-line from game 1 to game 2? Well, I think it's tough to say yes, because they played against starters and the inconsistency we saw in the footwork. I didn't think it was as it's certainly not where you want it to be, and there's certainly a lot of work to be done, and there's nothing to panic about at all. it's just part of the development process. You play against better players. Sometimes you get shell shocked. Certainly happened to me. And the last story, is there any camping stories? And there's a ton of camping stories. Not some are fit for TV, some aren't. Um, and I was just trying to think. The thing I always liked about camp is I remember the first time that camp was, Beck was allotted him some, like, I get to develop this this development period, like this indie period, and we're gonna do what I want to do. And I remember he was, it was his first time, and he was so excited, and he put this vest on where you could punch him, and we ran through this drill, and there was really really high energy, and it was such a departure from from what we usually did, and not in a good or bad way. It was just a different personality, different energy, different. He was certainly much more positive and upbeat, and you were getting hands on the guy. I always valued being able to put hands on somebody when we're doing drills, and I loved the energy that he brought. And so I always thought, like, okay, and knowing that he had played and all that kind of stuff, I thought, this guy's he's gonna be something as a coach, because he's not just drawing stuff up and saying, okay, go run this, go do this. He's drawing stuff up and putting the pads on, saying, come hit me so I can tell you if that's right or not. And the hands-on approach, I know for me always really helps. So I was always very appreciative of Campy for that. And just that train of thought, maybe more than anything. So that's the show. Listen, we're going to do one more game here. Hopefully the starters get a couple looks so we can get more out of, I think, the film session. But I hope you guys learned something today. You can find me, Michael68, on Twitter, Process to Perform, on Instagram. Hit that subscribe, rate, and review button on our YouTube channel, Process to Perform. Thanks again to Believe Network for sponsoring us, and of course, Bet Online. We'll, gosh, I don't even know. Is the game Thursday? I mean, hey, we're almost there, guys. Like we are almost at regular season football. Signing off.